For the first time in what feels like years, a top-of-the-table Premier League clash has delivered. This was billed as the biggest game of the season before a ball was even kicked, and it's safe to say it did not disappoint. The title race has just taken another monumental swing, and it's taken a swing in Manchester City's direction. Manchester City 2, Arsenal 1, and from minute 1 to minute 90, that felt like two heavyweights going back and forth, going blow for blow. And at the end of the day, Pep Guardiola's men have emerged victorious. But we have to talk about everything that made up this game, from Haaland and Gabriel going back and forth throughout the game, from Cherki's brilliance in the first half, to Kai Havertz's big misses in the second, to Manchester City now being within 3 points, touching distance of Arsenal with a game in hand to play. That game this week against Burnley away, practically relegated Burnley away from home, it seems like a relatively straightforward task. And if City are to win that game in midweek by at least 2 goals, they will sit top of the table with 5 games left to play. That's how big of a win this was. It felt like a Premier League final if ever there could be one. Winner takes it all. And in fact, draw takes it for Arsenal. If Arsenal avoided defeat today, I think we could have wrapped up the league. I genuinely think so. Having said that, I really hoped Arteta wouldn't enter this game with the mindset of looking to just draw. And at the start, it didn't feel like he went into it whatsoever. Arsenal came into this game extremely positive. They came into this game pressing from the front foot, trying to win the ball high up, playing in City's half. Now, that's not to say that City didn't start this game excellently as well too. It really felt in the opening exchanges that either team could get something against the other. But it was Rayan Cherki who in recent weeks has so often been the match winner, the difference maker for Manchester City, who was ultimately that in that first half, grabbing his goal so well and just summing up everything that's so fun to watch about City right now. Their attack feels so free-flowing. It feels so fast, so energetic. And that isn't summed up by anyone more so than Rayan Cherki, who today picked up the ball on the right-hand side, weaved past one, left Declan Rice in the dust, skipped past Saliba, and finished perfectly past David Raya to grab the opener in this game. And that felt like a huge moment for Manchester City. It felt like a moment that they could almost build off of because it did feel that goal was coming. However, they barely got to celebrate it for 30 seconds because on the other end, Matheus Nunes throws it back to Donnarumma, and Donnarumma, who has had a pretty good season for the most part, has managed to stay away from those errors with his feet that have haunted his career in the past. But today, those errors reared their ugly head. And my goodness, what a blunder. Kai Havertz continuing on from Arsenal's strong press from the front that we previously spoke about, winning the ball, intercepting Donnarumma's attempted pass, and the ball ends up in the back of the net. It was a moment to forget from City, from Donnarumma, and Arsenal suddenly had their way back into the game. And it almost felt like it killed City's momentum in that moment. The whole stadium went quiet, and it felt like Arsenal had just gotten themselves a huge goal. Now, the rest of the first half, I think, was played pretty evenly. City had most of the ball, but I think Arsenal kept them at bay for the most part. I don't think Semenyo had a great game at all today. In such stark contrast to his cup final performance against Hincapié, where he absolutely ripped him apart. I thought he was one of City's weaker performers today. But on the other end, Doku absolutely torching Mosquera. And anytime Madueke even tried doubling up on him, Doku just had his way with both of them. I thought Doku was so good today, man. One of City's better performers by far. But we went into halftime with the scores 1-1, and I think on performance level, I think both teams playing pretty evenly. City had more of the shots, City had more of the ball, but I think Arsenal managed the game really well. However, we got into the second half, and it felt very similar to the Carabao Cup final, where again, the first half, if anything, was more in Arsenal's favor, but City started to grow into it. We come into the second half, and I think City just took control of the game. They were the ones that started building. Erling Haaland missed a huge chance. Goal gaping, hitting the post. Semenyo being sent through on goal, and his heavy first touch escaped him into the path of David Raya. And Doku finding a yard of space inside the box before shooting straight at David Raya, but the opportunities were starting to build, and slowly you could feel this game start to creep in City's direction. But Arsenal defended well. We have to give them credit for defending, but it just felt like they allowed City way too much of a stranglehold in the opening exchanges of that second half that City continued to grow on. But that's not to say that Arsenal didn't have any chances in this game, because Eze created himself such a beautiful chance, carving out half a yard of space for himself to curl it past Donnarumma, but just narrowly hitting the post, going out. It felt like a huge moment, to be honest with you. And shortly after, when Erling Haaland punished him, it ultimately was a moment I think Eze wish he had back. Haaland, so much of the game wrestling with Gabriel, trying to buy himself a yard of space, trying to get in behind of him. Haaland and Gabriel was a fascinating matchup, as it usually is. But the goal ultimately came and ended at the feet of Erling Haaland. And what a goal it was for Manchester City. Arsenal pressed this game so well, but maybe this was the one moment when Donnarumma claimed the ball that I think they could have done a better job instead of pressing high, maybe just falling into their shape more, allowing City to play it short to Guehi or wherever they wanted to. Martinelli presses high on Guehi, allowing Donnarumma a perfect opportunity to find Nico O'Reilly in acres of space in the center of the park. And from there, the alarm bells started rushing because Nico O'Reilly is a top player. I actually think, on the basis of this season, forget about Young Player of the Year, which I think he should win. Nico O'Reilly should be in contention for Player of the Season. He has been so crucial for City in every phase of the game. And today, he was the difference maker in one sense because Donnarumma plays him in behind. O'Reilly receives the ball with so much space to run into. He takes it very, very happily, plays it into Doku. Doku, with his signature shimmy move, cuts inside, plays that slotted pass into O'Reilly. O'Reilly crosses it into the box. And who else but Erling Haaland to finish the chance off? Erling Haaland didn't have his best finishing game today. I think he should have really finished that first chance. But this is the difference between the elite and the good. That chance right there, it was maybe one of two chances he got all game. The first one he messed up. The second one, he never was going to mess up. It was a beautiful finish. He done really, really well to wrestle with Gabriel, to get himself a yard of space away from him and finish brilliantly past David Raya. That is right there a center forward's goal. It's not his prettiest goal this season, but my goodness, that's probably one of the goals he's the most proud of because he had to earn it. Damn it, he earned that goal. And all of a sudden, 2-1 to Manchester City. And you're thinking, okay, 65 minutes on the clock here. There's still time in this game. Let's see how Arsenal respond. 25 minutes plus injury time. And we kept waiting, and we kept waiting, and we kept waiting. I didn't like Arsenal's response to City's second whatsoever. I was expecting from that moment on, Arsenal need a goal. One goal in this game wins them the title. They come away with a 2-2 draw at the Etihad. I think the league is theirs. And I don't think they showed enough urgency after City went up 2-1 to really grab that goal. Now, the last 5-10 minutes of the game, yes, they're throwing everything at the game. They have most of the ball. City retreat. And Kai Havertz misses a gilt-edged opportunity right at the death. He missed an earlier opportunity as well, too. Sent through on goal and Donnarumma saves. But this one right here, right at the death, perfect cross from, I think I was Ben White or Martinelli from the right-hand side. Havertz, brilliant movement, does brilliantly to get up. A clear opportunity at goal. Heads the ball over the goal. And look, Kai Havertz played a decent game today. He did. He done well to get his team up the pitch. Anytime a ball goes long, he's there to bring his team up. I'm not trying to criticize Kai Havertz's overall 90-minute performance today. I've been on the record saying I think Arsenal played better football when he's up front to Gyökeres, and this is exactly why. But at the same time, guys, the margins are what determine greatness. The finest margins determine it. Sometimes it's so fine that you can almost go over it with a comb, but they still count. Havertz played a good game today, but at the end of the day, those two chances that fell to Kai Havertz are why Arsenal might not win the league this season. It's as simple as that. This is a £65 million forward, the highest paid player at the entire football club on 285 grand a week. Those two chances falling to him, that's who you want the chances to fall to. People can say Gyökeres all you want. Sure, him too. But your £65 million, 285K a week forward needs to bury one of those chances. I'm sorry, I'm not hearing otherwise. Well done for pressing Donnarumma and scoring your goal. That's something Havertz does well. He's a great presser from the front. I'm not looking at Havertz saying, oh, great fin. He intercepted the ball, great. But those two chances that fell to Havertz, he needs to bury at least one. Has to. I don't know how anyone can watch that and think differently. At the end of the day, it's another game over the last 3 seasons, a huge game, a huge title deciding game, trophy deciding game, where Kai Havertz has had a chance to bury it and win the game for Arsenal, or at least get something for Arsenal, and he has fluffed his lines. This is a forward that cannot properly strike the ball. At the end as well, too. Kai Havertz is a good header of the ball. He's got to at least get that on target, man. I'm sorry, I don't know how you can even look at that and excuse Kai Havertz. You look on the other end, Erling Haaland, who, look, spent a lot of this game wrestling with Gabriel. This was an ugly, ugly game for Gabriel and Haaland. It's a dogfight, right? These guys, they have to get it out of the mud today. You could argue Haaland didn't play the most overall beautiful game. I think he played a good game today. I think he did everything he could to get this win for City. But you can look at the intricacies of Havertz's hold up. At the end of the day, in the big moments, in the fine margin moments, Erling Haaland was there for his team. Kai Havertz wasn't. And I hate to sum up the game with those two players because so much more comes into it. So much more comes into the build-up to this game. Why do Arsenal have 1 win in 6? You have to look at Arteta. You have to look at the other forwards. Madueke in that first 45 minutes, £52 million for that. Horrible first half performance, and it follows up what's been a pretty bang average season. I'm looking at Martin Odegaard. How was he the one who didn't come off today and Eze was? So it's not to just paint the loss on Havertz. Trust me, it's not just on Havertz today. But those fine margins, no matter how you play, that can sometimes be the difference. But there's too many occasions over the last 3 seasons for Kai Havertz now where in the big decisive moments, he has not done enough for a player that cost the amount of money he did and the amount of money you currently pay him for. He hasn't. But wow, what a performance from Manchester City. Honestly, Arsenal didn't play a bad game today. I think Arsenal played their best football match in weeks, maybe even in months. That's the kind of performance Arsenal fans have been screaming for. And truthfully, if Arsenal played like this more over the last 2 to 3 months, this game would not have been billed a title decider. Because guys, this title should have been long won by them. But if they played more like this, there'd be no question about who was winning the Premier League. If Arsenal played like this every single week, they don't have to win every week, but if they played more like this, you would never hear criticism about Arsenal. You would never hear criticism about how they're going to bottle it. This was a great performance for the most part today. Now, again, in the fine moments, I think they messed up. And I look at Arteta's substitutions at times today. I look at the amount of time he sat off City between Havertz's goal and Haaland's goal. I think he took his foot off the gas way too much. But overall, at the Etihad, that's not a bad performance. But where was this for the last few weeks? Where was this? Where was this against Southampton? Where was this in the cup final? Where was this against Sporting? Where was this against Forest and Liverpool and United in February? That's the reason why Arsenal might not win this league. Today, look, they lost to Manchester City at the Etihad. It happens. It was a huge game that they had to get something out of. But today is not the reason Arsenal will not win the league. It's the accumulation of months upon months of a rot that has been setting in slowly but surely. And today, the rot came home. As for Manchester City, what a gutsy performance that was. Absolutely gutsy. Bernardo Silva and Rodri won the midfield battle today. Up against Declan Rice, they won the midfield battle. I didn't think Rice was too bad today, but I don't think Declan Rice did enough to really grab a hold of that midfield. I think you look at Bernardo and Rodri today. Rodri, yes, he went off of a groin injury. Let's see how long that rules him out for. But Rodri today, there's no question that was prime Rodri. That looked like Rodri back to his best. Bernardo Silva, yet again, a man for the big occasion. Every big game, it feels like he's there for Man City, performing the way he is. Nico O'Reilly, yet again decisive for Man City. How good is Nico O'Reilly, by the way, in tight situations? Anytime it looks like he's been kind of forced out to the line, he's going to lose the ball, he finds his way out of it seamlessly. For such a big guy as well, too. Fantastic player. Kusanov, Gehi, Nunez, strong performances from them. Cherki in the first half in particular, so brilliant. I thought Jeremy Doku was potentially man of the match today. I think he was terrorizing on the left-hand side. And it's another performance that Doku doesn't walk away with a goal or an assist, but real ones can analyze Doku's game today and appreciate how good he was. That second goal, so much credit to O'Reilly, so much credit to Donnarumma, so much credit to Haaland. But Doku still needs to work that yard of space that he does effortlessly time after time after time. And then find that beautiful reverse pass into O'Reilly. I thought Doku was so good. And then Erling Haaland. Yet again, another big game where I think he stood up. Erling Haaland against Liverpool this season. Brilliant. So many times, by the way. 3 times against Liverpool today this season, he was brilliant. Against Newcastle recently. Brilliant. Against Chelsea. Brilliant. Today, brilliant. It's a dogged performance. It's a performance that isn't going to get the most beautiful headlines. He didn't score 4 goals. But one-on-one against Gabriel in that kind of matchup, Haaland stood up, man. And I'm looking at Gabriel today. And I'm looking at Gabriel, in fact, recently. I think Gabriel's performance level has slipped over the last few weeks. I'm looking at a few of the goals that Arsenal are conceding. And Gabriel is at the scene of a crime for a few of them. And even in moments where Arsenal aren't scoring, he looks shaky right now. Saliba looks like the much more composed center back between the two of them. I'm looking at Gabriel at the moment, and I'm seeing moments of complete madness from him. How he did not get sent off today is beyond me. And Gary Neville, look, I typically stay away from critiquing pundits and commentators. This is a game of opinions, right? But Gary Neville, for me, showed himself today. How on earth can you be talking about Lisandro all throughout the week and about how he was pulling his hair and he's always going to get a red card, he should know better? But then today, Gabriel straight up headbutts Haaland, an action that 99% of the time we see given a red card. The minute you initiate movement with your head, it's a red. And you're talking about, I'm happy he didn't give him a red card. It's a weird commentary, man. Weird. But Gabriel, I think, was very, very fortunate to stay on the pitch. Good performance from Arsenal today. I thought Saliba was outstanding. Again, another performance from Saliba where I think he's unlucky to be on the losing side. I said the same thing in the Carabao Cup final. I'm going to say it again today. I think Saliba, same against Bournemouth as well too. I think Saliba's been the consistent guy in this team over the last few weeks, even when Arsenal have dipped. I thought Eze today played one of his better games. The only thing I didn't like about Eze today is in that moment where Cherki scores the goal, I think he loses that 50-50 to Nunez way too easily. But on the ball, I thought Eze was Arsenal's brightest player. And again, I can't understand why he didn't stay on the pitch. I have no idea why. And Havertz, despite the 2 misses, done well. He's done well. But guys, he's a forward. I'm going to continue stressing this. He's a forward being paid £285,000 a week. He's the 3rd most expensive player in Arsenal's entire history. Those 2 chances they could be make or break for the title race this season. And I'm sorry, he's got to grab one of them. I would put money on Erling Haaland scoring one of those chances. And yes, Erling Haaland misses chances. I'm not saying he scores every single chance he gets. But that final chance in the dying moments, I would bet Haaland scores that. Kai Havertz has to do better there. Has to do better there. But ultimately, without making this too much of a Havertz versus Haaland thing, we have to look at this as a Pep versus Arteta thing. We do. We need to address the elephant in the room. Because no matter what I say about Kai Havertz and his flaws, his deficiencies, this is Arteta's man. No matter what I say about Madueke and his deficiencies, this is Arteta's man. No matter what I say about Gyökeres, I have never been a fan of Gyökeres this season. You guys know that. That's Arteta's man. This is a squad that has been composed over the last 6 years directly in Arteta's image. The amount of money that they've spent, the recruitment responsibility they've given him. You cannot look at this Arsenal team and critique any part of it without it being a direct reflection of Mikel Arteta. Whether you look at the depth, whether you look at the striker options, whether you look at the forward options, whether you look at Zubimendi, every single bit of this Arsenal team is a direct reflection of the manager. So no matter what you critique, you have to look at him too. And ultimately, if Arsenal don't win this league title, which today looks less likely than it ever has this season, the blame can only fall on one man's feet. And it won't be Kai Havertz. It won't be Madueke. It won't be Victor Gyökeres. It won't be Zubimendi. It won't be Gabriel. It won't be Mosquera. It won't be anyone but Mikel Arteta. Where were these performances for the last 6 weeks? 1 win in 6 for Arsenal now. But this is the one game I can actually forgive. I can. You went to the Etihad, you gave it a good go for the most part, and you lost to a really, really good team. Where was this against Sporting over 2 legs? Where you were fortunate, in my opinion, to progress. Where was this against Southampton? Where was this against Bournemouth? And where was that in the cup final? Where have these performances been? This just shows right here that Arsenal are capable of playing this way. They are. Where has it been? At the end of this season, any way Arsenal finish trophyless, I don't want to hear anybody tell me about Mikel Arteta. I don't want anyone to tell me about, look how far he's taken them. I don't want anyone to tell me about, look at what he's achieved. I don't want anyone to tell me about, look, he just needs one more piece. That's it. If Arteta is not able to win this Premier League title for Arsenal Football Club should move on from him at the end of the season because it's getting ridiculous now. It's getting ridiculous. In fact, now it's starting to just get embarrassing for Arsenal because yes, Arteta has done a lot for this football club. He took them from a position where they were the laughing stock of English football, right? They were a non-factor in title races. They couldn't even qualify for the Champions League. They were finishing below Wolves and Leicester. Leicester are about to be in League One in a few weeks, right? From where he took over Arsenal to where he now has them, it's an incredible reflection of the coaching job he's done, of the rebuild he's done. But I'm sorry now, it's been 6 years. We can appreciate what Mikel Arteta has done for Arsenal Football Club without always having to reference it whenever we critique him. I feel like over the last few seasons, you talk about Arteta. Yeah, but think about where he got them from. Look, be careful what you wish for. We're talking about Arsenal Football Club. This is one of the 10 biggest football clubs in the world. This is a football club with tons of history, tons of culture, tons of prestige. They've had some of the best players I've ever seen in my life. Arsene Wenger revolutionized English football. Mikel Arteta has done a great job getting Arsenal to where they are now. No one can critique that. No one can dismiss that job. But I'm sorry now. 4 title races in a row. I dare you to bottle this one. If Arsenal Football Club do not win the Premier League this season, they should sack Mikel Arteta. Because if they don't, I genuinely think it'll be embarrassing for them. It almost feels if they don't sack him after not winning it, it's like, oh, we owe him this. He got us here. This is his squad. He took us all the way here. That's an embarrassing point of view to have. That's an embarrassing outlook to have. You guys are Arsenal Football Club. You don't owe this guy anything. You don't owe him anything. This team needs to win the league this year. And anybody still vouching for Arteta after this season, if they don't get it done is the key words here. I question your ambition for your football club. I genuinely do. The crazy thing now is, guys, it's out of their hands. Well, one more game. If City go in and drop points to Burnley, okay, it's back in your hands. But assuming Man City travel to Burnley this week and win that game, which you'd have to assume they do, they are huge favorites, it is no longer now in Arsenal's hands. They are now hoping for a favor from the rest of the league. And from this point on, forget about asking for favors from the other league. Does Arsenal win the rest of their games? They have 1 win in 6. All right, like, I know Newcastle are in poor form at the moment. There's no guarantee that Arsenal are beating Newcastle next. The way they've been playing over these last 6 games, there's no guarantee they beat any of the remaining teams. Going to West Ham away in a few weeks, that's not a guarantee anymore. So Arsenal have to be perfect, and now they have to look at the rest of the league to do them a favor against Man City. Now, Man City have been far from perfect this year, but now with 6 games left of the season, I trust Pep Guardiola. I do. Now, I've trusted Guardiola a lot of times this season, and his team haven't gotten it done. But 6 games left, having overcome this massive obstacle in Arsenal at home that they've just done, I don't see them fumbling from here. I think Man City now grab this title race by the scruff of the neck and run away with it. I think they get to the finish line, which is something that we have been asking, praying, begging for Arsenal to do all year long. How many times on this channel, guys, have we said, Arsenal, it's time. Grab the title race by the scruff of the neck. City have fumbled so many times. Grab it, run away with it. Get to the finish line. I feel like I've said that phrase 4 or 5 times this season. And every time I have, they failed to do it. And so now I'm going to say this. Manchester City, grab the title race by the scruff of the neck and run away with it. It's now your turn. I'm sorry. I trust Pep Guardiola to get it done. And on the basis of the last 6 years, on evidence, why would I not? Guardiola, I owe Guardiola a big apology, by the way, right? I really do. Let me say this. I'm a man of principle. I'm a man of honor. I can admit when I'm wrong. I said 2 years ago that I thought an Arsenal team with Kai Havertz up front could win the league. I'll admit I was wrong because he's proven enough times now over 2 seasons, he's not that guy in the big moments. I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong. I thought Rayan Cherki and Pep Guardiola couldn't coexist. I was wrong. The third thing I was massively wrong on. I'm happy to say this. I had the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to suggest a few weeks ago on SDS that maybe Guardiola could not adjust to what the modern game in the Premier League demanded. That the game was heading more in Arteta's favor than Guardiola's. That maybe he needed a year off. I'm a fool. I'm a fool for questioning, arguably, the greatest coach in the history of the game. And I'm a fool for questioning him over Mikel Arteta. That's my final apology. I'm happy to admit I'm wrong because, as I always tell you guys, right? I think I have a decent understanding of the game. I didn't write the rules of football. I'm not going to be the guy who comes on here saying, I was right about this, I was right about this. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm not. And in this moment right here, Guardiola has left me with a lot of egg on my face. I'm happy to admit I completely got it spot off because you look at when I said that at the time, I think they had just drawn to West Ham. I think it was their second successive draw in a row. You compare that to a few weeks later, where the title race lies. Advantage Manchester City. Catch them if you can. Guys, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm going to be on SDS tonight, video out tomorrow, so make sure you check that out as well too. And I'll see you guys for the very next video on the channel. Peace.